Hi. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the term landscape in Landscape of Mothers. So even the title is sort of awkward. You don't usually think of landscape as being part of a living being or a human or an archetype. And so what I really mean by landscape is this way that there's an inner terrain to something that we explore. So as we explore, so the easiest way might be to start to think about landscape as the landscape of you and what that means. And to me, when I'm thinking of the landscape of myself, I'm thinking of this rich inner world that no one else can fully know. Like I can tell all the stories I want, and yet no one will really understand what it's like to be inside of me, right? To be in my mind, to be in my experiences, to be in my thoughts. And so that reality of what's really in there to me is described by the term landscape. There is a landscape of me. There is a place that's made up of experiences and beliefs, thoughts, wishes, dreams, perspectives, and that life force energy that's inside of me. So if you believe that we're here for a purpose or something, that would also exist in that space. And all together, they make up who we are and how we respond to the world. And so when we're taking stock of ourselves, or when we're cultivating self-awareness, what we're doing is getting to know that landscape better, that inner landscape, and bringing that knowledge out into what we're doing every day, right? So we're able to we can be self-aware, we can explore that inner landscape, we can get to know ourselves better, and therefore we can understand ourselves better. I think it opens the door to self-compassion and self-love. And I think it's important because we make better decisions that way, right? When we know where something comes from, we're often way more capable and we have more capacity for making different kinds of decisions because we have a context. So the reason to do the work of looking into our inner landscape is to get to know ourselves better for these reasons, right? To increase our capacity, to allow ourselves to make the decisions that are more in line with what we really want. And in the context of parenting, then, to be the parent that we want to be, and to be able to provide what it is that we most want to provide. So I think often when we act without knowing how our inner landscape functions or how it works or what's in there and what gets triggered by different things, we tend to be more reactionary, right? And so we tend to reproduce the kind of parenting that's already been done to us, whatever kind of parenting that was. And so if we want to do something else, it requires us to explore the landscape. It requires us to gain more capacity, and it requires us to gain more self-awareness and self-knowledge. So that's what landscape means to me in the terms of Landscape of Mothers, or in terms of landscape of self. In terms of Landscape of Mothers, it's really about the same things, right? Exploring this landscape, but now of an archetype, of a way that we can look into a particular realm of life or a particular aspect and find sort of a little more pointed self-awareness. And with Landscape of Mothers, it means that as we enter this place of looking for self-awareness and we don't really know what we're looking for, or like all of a sudden, you've been doing that as a personal practice, but then you have a child and you're like, oh no, now how do I translate this into this practice of parenting? And so then it would be Landscape of Mothers helps kind of delineate like, oh, here's the realms that you're looking at. And it's not a complete map of all of the possible realms that you're looking at, but it's really the 8 starting places, the 8 foundational, fundamental pieces of, what needs to be in place in order for supported self-awareness and self-knowledge, and being able to bring that forward in a way that resonates and makes sense in the body that you have, in the experience and in the landscape of you, so that you're bringing more your landscape forward by seeing or investigating the landscape of mothers and what's offered there, and then you're choosing, what do I want to bring forward? What do I want to work on right now? Where am I? What am I really doing here? Instead of being in this place of the complete unknown of like, oh, how do I even begin to do this thing that I start to feel unprepared for, right? I have my own story of this, and I've heard so many other parents say that the day that they were sent home with their first child was just like, really? These people are going to send me home with this baby? What am I supposed to do? Right? It's really walking into this unknown realm, and we rely on our inner being, our inner ways of knowing to kind of guide us, especially in those early days, but really, honestly, for the whole time that we're parenting. So if you have any thoughts or questions about landscape in this context, just let me know, put a comment or a question below, and I'll respond as soon as I can.